her. He stammered out, "Oh, yes, only I don't know. Ought I? Now I've just begun. I'd like to think it over." Her voice answered, cool and gentle, "Yes, dear, think it over. But better now than when you've begun farming seriously. Italy with you, it would be nice." Jon put his arm round her waist, still slim and firm as a girl's. "Do you think you ought to leave Father?" he said feebly, feeling very mean. "Father suggested it. He thinks you ought to see Italy, at least before you settle down to anything." The sense of meanness died in Jon. He knew, yes, he knew that his father and his mother were not speaking frankly, no more than he himself. They wanted to keep him from Fleur. His heart hardened, and, as if she felt that process going on, his mother said: "Good night, darling. Have a good sleep and think it over. But it would be lovely." She pressed him to her so quickly that he did not see her face. Jon stood feeling exactly as he used to when he was a naughty little boy, sore because he was not loving, and because he was justified in his own eyes. But Irene, after she had stood a moment in her own room, passed through the dressing room between it and her husband's. "Well?" "He will think it over, Jolyon." Watching her lips, that wore a little drawn smile, Jolyon said quietly: "You had better let me tell him and have done with it. After all, Jon has the instincts of a gentleman. He has only to understand." "Only he can't understand. That's impossible." "I believe I could, at his age." Irene caught his hand. "You were always more of a realist than Jon, and never so innocent." "That's true," said Jolyon. "It's queer, isn't it? You and I would tell our stories to the world without a particle of shame, but our own boy stumps us. We've never cared whether the world approves or not." "Jon would not disapprove of us." "Oh, Jolyon, yes! He's in love. I feel he's in love. And he'd say, 'My mother once married without love. How could she have?' It'll seem to him a crime. And so it was." Jolyon took her hand and said with a wry smile: "Ah, why on earth are we born young? Now, if only we were born old and grew younger year by year, we should understand how things happen, and drop all our cursed intolerance. But you know, if the boy is really in love, he won't forget, even if he goes to Italy. We're a tenacious breed, and he'll know by instinct why he's being sent. Nothing will really cure him but the shock of being told." "Let me try, anyway." Jolyon stood a moment without speaking. Between this devil and this deep sea, the pain of a dreaded disclosure, and the grief of losing his wife for 2 months, he secretly hoped for the devil. Yet, if she wished for the deep sea, he must put up with it. After all, it would be training for that departure from which there would be no return. And, taking her in his arms, he kissed her eyes and said: "As you will, my love." End of Part 1, Chapter 10.